Hey, man, we witnessed Caitlin Clark absolutely save Stephanie White with that huge game-winning shot last night. Now, Stephanie White said some very disturbing things before the game and after the game. It was a little bit too much Kelsey Mitchell talk. Yes, she credited Austin Kelly for drawing up the play. Obviously, she couldn't draw up a play, and she would never draw up a play for Caitlin Clark. But Stephanie White coming at the fans and not caring.
There is a fundamental difference between a head coach who builds a dynasty around her best player and a head coach who is slowly, methodically dismantling one out of ego and insecurity. When a generational talent delivers a miraculous, season-saving shot that bails out an entire coaching staff's failures, the only acceptable response from the head coach is unambiguous public gratitude. You step to that microphone. You acknowledge the greatness. You say, "She saved us." But Stephanie White is not interested in acknowledging greatness. She is interested in controlling the narrative, and last night, that control finally cracked open for everyone to see. Following Caitlin Clark's unbelievable game-winning shot against the Washington Mystics, Stephanie White did not celebrate the player who just saved her job. Instead, she delivered a pre-game statement, so arrogant it deserves its own case study in franchise mismanagement, and then ran a post-game press conference designed to systematically dilute Clark's credit and redirect attention toward Kelsey Mitchell. This was not a miscommunication. This was a pattern, and the evidence is overwhelming.
Bert comes up to me and tells me that he's so frustrated he's yelling at the TV because he wants Caitlin to shoot more. And you see social media, of course you do, and we all do. And we see frustration if Caitlin doesn't have the ball, or if something goes wrong, or if the team doesn't play well in the fourth quarter, all those things that happen in sports. What's your answer to those fans?
I don't know that I really have an answer for the fans. I think, I have to answer to our team, and our franchise. And we're trying to win ball games. We're not trying to appease the masses.
Well, that's the problem.
To understand the full depth of what happened last night, you have to go back to before tip-off. The credentialed media, finally responding to the mounting pressure from the fan base, asked White directly, "What do you say to the fans who feel Caitlin Clark is being systematically frozen out of the offense?" White's response was not a misquote. It was not taken out of context. She looked into the cameras and said, clearly and without hesitation, "We are not trying to appease the masses. We're trying to win ball games."
About the fact that she has completely ruined the entertainment value when it comes to watching Caitlin Clark. As you see, that Washington Mystics game was half empty. You see the attendance dropping at all the Indiana Fever games, and she just completely downplayed it. She has no care about the fact that she completely ruined this offense. This Indiana Fever team scored 78 points. We were scoring 100 a night before Stephanie White got over here and completely ruined it. And a lot of people are not happy with the fact that she was crediting Kelsey Mitchell way too much for.
Let us be precise about what that statement actually means, because the business logic here is damning. Professional sports franchises do not exist outside of market economics. The masses Stephanie White is dismissing are the same people generating the historic television ratings that triggered multi-million-dollar broadcast contracts. They are the ticket buyers whose demand drove Indiana Fever games to sell out territory for the first time in franchise history. They are the merchandise consumers whose purchasing behavior is directly cited in every WNBA revenue growth report published in the last 2 years. When a head coach publicly announces she is not accountable to that audience, she is not making a philosophical statement about basketball purity. She is revealing a stunning blindness to the economic engine she is supposed to be protecting. And the deeper irony? Her justification for dismissing the fans is winning. But the box score from last night tells a different story. The Indiana Fever, with one of the most talented offensive weapons in professional basketball, struggled to score 78 points against a Washington Mystics team that entered this game with a losing record. That is not a winning system. That is an ego masquerading as a system. The economic evidence. The arenas are telling the truth. The establishment broadcast will not give you the wide-angle camera shots, but independent analysts and creators like Keep the Vision are documenting what the networks will not show. The attendance at Indiana Fever games is visibly declining. The arena during the Washington Mystics game was nowhere near capacity.
Well, I hope she will have many more moments. If you are gonna be the one at the helm, Austin Kelly, way to draw up a play for Caitlin Clark. Finally, you know what I mean? Stephanie White probably would have did it for Kelsey Mitchell. A lot of people are not happy with a lot of the things that Stephanie White is getting on these cameras and saying, man. But you tell me what you think about what you just saw.
This is not a coincidence, and it is not a weather issue. This is direct market feedback. Caitlin Clark represents something genuinely unprecedented in the history of the WNBA. A player whose commercial value, entertainment output, and competitive ability are simultaneously at an elite level. During her rookie season, particularly in the post-Olympic stretch, the Fever were a must-watch product. Fast-paced, high-scoring, built around the Clark-Boston pick-and-roll, with Mitchell weaponized perfectly as a weak-side shooter. They were averaging over 100 points. They were electric. Then Stephanie White arrived and fundamentally restructured the offensive identity of the team. The pace slowed. The half-court sets multiplied. Clark was moved off the ball for extended stretches, and the product became unwatchable for the exact audience that had just discovered women's basketball. You cannot cultivate a new fan base with a revolutionary player and then quietly replace her offensive role with something that would have been considered outdated 5 years ago. The market has responded accordingly. The empty seats are not a mystery, they are a verdict. The game winner she didn't draw up. Despite a system that routinely removes her from the game's most critical possessions, including an inexplicable sequence where White substituted Clark in for 30 seconds in the second quarter, only to bench her for 7 straight minutes while Washington mounted their comeback, Clark still delivered the impossible. 31 feet, 4.3 seconds. A shot that required not just range, but the mental architecture to perform under pressure after missing 2 consecutive free throws 90 seconds earlier.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's about finding ways, and we found a way, and get a couple of defensive stops, a couple of buckets. I thought, when we had the loose ball that Shakira got, and C found Kelsey, and somehow she found her balance and made the layup. I mean, those are all winning plays.
Somehow C found Kelsey, and I don't know how Kelsey Mitchell found her balance, and she made the layup. Wait a minute, bruh. Wait a minute, bruh. This ain't the kid. Don't bring up Kelsey now, because you refused to say Kelsey Mitchell's name last game when she was out there jacking up shots versus the New York Liberty.
Here is the detail the mainstream coverage is glossing over. Stephanie White did not draw up that play. The tactical credit for the final possession goes to assistant coach Austin Kelly. This is not a minor footnote. When the game was in its most critical moment, the solution came from around White, not through her. That is an indictment of the coaching structure, not a compliment to it. White has demonstrated, repeatedly and on film, that her offensive design does not effectively utilize Clark's range as a primary weapon. If the final play had been called by White, the question of whether Clark would have even caught the ball in a position to shoot from the logo is entirely legitimate. Clark bailed out the coaching staff with pure, unmanufactured talent. The least Stephanie White could do was acknowledge it without conditions. The post-game manipulation, the Kelsey Mitchell pivot. Instead, she ran a press conference that revealed exactly how she views Caitlin Clark's success, as something to be managed and distributed, not celebrated. Rather than leading with the game winner, White zeroed in on a loose ball sequence in the final minute. She praised Shakira Austin for securing the ball, then specifically highlighted that Clark somehow found Kelsey Mitchell, who somehow found her balance and made a layup. She framed this messy, chaotic scramble as the defining winning play of the night.
That's a ton of momentum. I don't know that the noise is ever going to be quiet. This is what Caitlin does. She makes big shots, and she has big moments, and I think when you have a player like her, it's very easy for people to just take it for granted and to think that everything that she does is always going to be.
You the one taking it for granted. You the one not using her right. You the one fumbling the most generational player to ever step foot in this league. You are the one that don't appreciate what's going on. You making it about you. Taking her out nonstop. You subbed her in for 30 seconds in the second quarter, then sat her for 7 minutes.
The word somehow is doing enormous work in that sentence. It implies luck. It minimizes decision-making. And critically, it redirects the emotional credit of the comeback onto Mitchell. Now compare that to how White handled Kelsey Mitchell's performance in the New York Liberty game, where Mitchell was objectively the team's worst offensive player, forcing contested shots, refusing to move the ball, and actively shooting the Fever out of a winnable game. Did White call Mitchell out by name at that press conference? No. She used collective language. We had tunnel vision. We failed to execute. Mitchell was protected behind the plural pronoun. The double standard is not subtle. When Mitchell performs poorly, the failure belongs to everyone. When Clark performs brilliantly, the credit belongs to Mitchell too. You do not get to operate by two different accountability standards for two different players and then claim you are managing the roster objectively. The film is public. The press conference transcripts are public. The pattern is documented. The taking for granted projection. The most revealing moment of the entire press conference came when a reporter asked White about the magnitude of Clark's signature moment. White said, and this is a direct quote, that when you have a player like Caitlin Clark, it's very easy for people to just take it for granted.
You know, it's number one, a lot of work that she puts in. Number two, like it's been a rough go over the last, 18 to 24 months for her. And so she's finding her way. And every opportunity that she gets to hit a shot like that or to get a stop. I mean, she got a big defensive stop for us. To get a pass like she did to Kelsey is an opportunity to continue to feel more and more like herself and grow.
Bringing up Kelsey again.
Grow that confidence back. And
the projection in that statement is extraordinary. The fans are not taking Caitlin Clark for granted. The fans are tracking every possession she is removed from. They are documenting every uncalled foul. They are analyzing every substitution pattern that leaves her on the bench during critical stretches. The fans know precisely what they have, which is exactly why they are frustrated. The only party in this situation who has operationally treated Caitlin Clark as expendable is the coaching staff itself. The evidence is tactical and measurable. She is regularly moved off the ball in a half-court system that neutralizes her most dangerous attributes. She was benched for 7 consecutive minutes last night while the opposing team erased a 17-point lead. The play that won the game was drawn up by an assistant coach, not the head coach, suggesting the offensive system White runs does not have a designed action for Clark's most lethal skill set. The post-game narrative was immediately redirected away from her. White then added that it has been a rough go over the last 18 to 24 months for Clark and that she is finding her way and working to grow that confidence back. Caitlin Clark does not have a confidence problem. A player without confidence does not catch a basketball 31 feet from the basket with 4 seconds remaining, after missing 2 free throws against a defense that knows exactly what is coming and shoot it without hesitation. That is not a confidence problem. That framing is a coaching staff attempting to construct a narrative where Clark's success is the result of their patient development rather than her innate, undeniable, pre-existing brilliance. She broke every collegiate scoring record in history before Stephanie White coached a single game in Indiana. She does not owe her confidence to this staff. She arrived with it. The final verdict. The evidence is on film. The Indiana Fever won 78-76. They survived. But survival built on this structural foundation is not a blueprint, it is a warning. The pre-game dismissal of the fanbase was not a one-time mistake. It is the explicit philosophy of a coaching staff that has decided the product on the floor matters more than the audience experiencing it, while simultaneously failing to build a product that consistently wins. The post-game manipulation of the narrative was not an accident. It is a recurring pattern of credit dilution that appears every time Clark delivers something undeniable. The arenas are responding. The ratings will eventually respond. And at some point, the front office will have to answer a simple question. Is Stephanie White building a system that maximizes Caitlin Clark, or is she managing a system that contains her? Because the film already has an answer, and the fans who are paying attention already know what it is.